Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir, and we've got something great on tap for you today, folks. It is The View, those lovable leftist lunatic ladies of what I call affectionately the rear view, Cackling Hens. And today, they are basically talking about how Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, has now said that what we all knew, what Donald Trump said was true, and they got excoriated for it. And we all did, folks. Anybody that basically said anything that the Wuhan virus didn't come from the Wuhan lab in China, we were called racists, bigots, hated people from China, hated Asians or whatever. And we just got hammered on it. We got silenced, deplatformed, whatever you want to call about it. We're going to get to that video in just the next few seconds. But before we do so, just want to let you know, if you haven't done it, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Put your comments below. Folks, this one's really going to ignite something underneath all of us. Let's get to that video right now.
Since the early days of the pandemic, many health experts claim that COVID outbreak probably began in an animal spreading, and it was a human to animal, animal to human, yeah. Right. But yesterday, FBI Director Christopher Wray said the agency has thought for some time now that, quote, most likely it came from a lab leak. Now, Jon Stewart also talked about the backlash he got when he brought it up to Stephen Colbert in 2021. Take a look.
If there was evidence, I'd love to hear it.
There's a novel respiratory coronavirus overtaking Wuhan, China. What do? Oh, you know who we could ask? The Wuhan novel respiratory coronavirus lab. The disease is the same name as the lab.
The larger problem with all of this is the inability to discuss things that are within the realm of possibility.
Yes.
Without falling into absolutes and litmus testing each other for our political allegiances. And the two things that came out of it were, I'm racist against Asian people, and how dare I align myself with the alt-right.
Now, no, he's right. The politics got in the way of a lot of looking for the truth.
And it was you, Whoopi. It was you, Cackling Hens, on The View. It was you, Sonny Asuncion Cummings Hostin. It was you, Alyssa Griffith. It was you, Joyless Behar. All of you Cackling Hens. Don't tell me this was just some contrived thing or whatever. You were the ones that were political inside there. You were the ones that excoriated people on the right. You were the ones that excoriated Americans that even dared to basically say that the Wuhan virus, and what are you calling it Wuhan virus for? You're a racist, you're bigoted for calling Wuhan. Every damn disease, wherever it originates, gets its name from the place that it got originated from. Don't you guys understand that? This thing really pisses me off. And then you stand there all high and mighty, sit there all high and mighty, cackling in your pens, regurgitating this stuff. The verbal diarrhea that emanates from your mouths is unbelievable.
But they still are not saying definitively. And that's a problem. They still don't know for sure.
They know for sure.
Who knows where it came from? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But I know that when the last guy before Biden said anything about this, he made it about Asian people.
No, he didn't make it about Asian people, you stupid, idiotic, moronic retard. Part of SIMR acronym, SIMR. Didn't make it about that. He basically said that that's where it's coming from. And you guys took it and you politicized it. You weaponized it on the left.
And I'm sure Jon Stewart didn't realize that that's what was happening.
No,
because I'm sure he didn't know
nothing.
What was going on all over the country with Asian folks getting smacked and hit and people saying stuff to them about bringing the disease here. I mean, this was...
That obviously is unfortunate. That never should have happened. But that was not happening, okay, like every single freaking day. People are getting assaulted. People are getting hit for all kinds of things. They were doing that before COVID and before the Wuhan virus, and they're going to do it after COVID and after the Wuhan virus. One thing had nothing to do with another.
This was what was happening. And if you know who had not started it with that, had he not made it about that, had he said, listen, this might have come out of a lab, and not gone on and described in ways I'm not going to even
you still can't say it, can you?
It probably would have been listened to a lot differently.
No, he wouldn't have been.
And the reality is 7 million people were killed by coronavirus, and getting to the origins does matter to be able to avoid another massive pandemic that kills people. I remember February of 2020, before a lot of countries were even shut down for travel, I was at the DOD and we were talking about an accidental lab leak as a very legitimate way that this may have come about. Now, there is not consensus in the scientific community, but the effort to silence it, I think, was destructive to getting answers. And to your point, Whoopi, I actually think the CCP did damage to the Chinese American, or to the Chinese community, by saying, no, this came from a wet market, and ruling out their own.
But the president of the United States.
No, but just agreed. But just to make the point that to rule out any responsibility they may have borne.
I think that was a significant part of it, because they didn't allow, if I remember, the World Health Organization to go into the lab. That was a very big problem. So they were hiding it. I think the other
Did you say anything at that time, Asuncion Cummings? Did you say anything at that time? No, you just kept your mouth shut. And you kept weaponizing and politicizing it for your own leftist motives. Don't give me this crap. Now, all of a sudden, okay, you had a freaking epiphany, Asuncion Cummings.
Significant problem is the FBI said with it has moderate certainty. The Energy Department, I think, says limited certainty. The reason there is so much uncertainty is because the Chinese did not cooperate with the international community.
And they have never cooperated. But he didn't help the case by making it about us.
Just shut up, Whoopi, okay? Shut up. I mean, you know what? That just pisses me off. That this lady, this is just unfreaking believable here. Unfreaking believable. She keeps going back to the fact about Donald. Everything's Donald Trump's fault. Everything's Trump's fault. He did this. He said that. He didn't say this. He didn't do that. Enough is enough after a while.
Something I cut you both off.
No, I was just saying that, you know, when Manny's parents died from COVID, as a physician, and his sister's a physician, that's all they thought about. Where did this come from? How did this come? And we had this discussion about the Wuhan lab being right there. We've both been to China, we've been to Shenzhen, we've been to Hong Kong, and we have friends that still live there.
Right.
And the rumor at the time was that it came from the lab. That's what the Chinese even thought. And what I will say is that because, as you mentioned, Whoopi, Trump unleashed this xenophobia. He stopped allowing Chinese people to come to the country. He then...
That's right. We didn't want the Chinese people coming to the country because they had the Wuhan virus. How stupid and moronic do you have to be? That was the first damn good thing that one of the greatest things that he did in terms of stopping the Chinese influx of Chinese people coming from the mainland to the United States of America. Do you know how many hundreds of thousands of deaths he prevented from that thing? But no, you're just too stupid and political to understand that.
Started calling it the...
Don't even say it. Don't even say it.
He called it something, and he kept on saying, China, China, and doing this thing where I was even concerned as someone who had lost family members for Manny to even bring it up. And that is really sad, because when you can't trust the transparency of your government, where are you?
Well, in Jon Stewart's touching on, in that quote that was in the intro, he spoke about how we're having a problem with conversations, even when they're somewhat possible, falling into absolutes or political allegiances. And that's the case for a lot of conversations. So when you even look back, because of the politicization of this, from...
Sara, honey, let me mansplain something to you. Every damn thing is political. And then whether you choose to weaponize it for political gain, that's a whole different conversation, honey.
People who were saying, you're using racist dog whistles and 1,000 other things, which was completely ignorant. It was just as ignorant for people to come back at Jon Stewart and say, well, then you are a racist and that you must be associating with the alt-right. Both of those were screaming ignorance, which was also a problem now when we look back, having open conversations about the vaccines, the school shutdowns. Everyone had a different idea. There wasn't one right way to do it.
And there still isn't.
And there still isn't.
That's not true. That's not true, okay? We were just being experimented on, okay, by the fake fraud Fossey in this thing here. So don't tell me we knew exactly what we had to do, what some other countries do. They remained open. They didn't have the same type of problems as everybody else did, but we decided to politicize it. We decided, not we, meaning, okay, the government and those on the left, the liberals, the intellectuals, the elites, the people that were in power, they were the ones, okay, that want to put their thumb, okay, and just basically crush everybody. That's what they were trying to do. And they succeeded in doing that, succeeded in ruining lives, ruining businesses, ruining everything, ruining school children, schools, teaching, learning, all that crap, okay, was literally stopped for 2 years because of the weaponization, the politicization of basically no more diversity of thought, no more diversity of opinion. You better toe the government line. You better toe the line of people like these cackling hens over here and what they were saying. That's what was going on at that time.
That's the issue.
And we missed out on important facts along the way. So Josh Rogan at the Washington Post, who's one of the best reporters, in my opinion, on covering China, obtained cables that the State Department sent in 2018 from the Wuhan lab saying there's some issues here. They're not taking it seriously enough. There's not enough medical representatives. Something like a pandemic could happen, but people felt like they couldn't talk about it. And I've got to mention, Senator Tom Cotton was raked over the coals for suggesting what many people believed, which was that this was accidental from a lab.
Let's be realistic in our time frame here, because when that came out, nobody wanted to talk about it. The government wasn't talking about it. They weren't listening to him. You know, it wasn't until the poop hit the fan that people start hearing. And then when it becomes about it's your fault and you did it, as opposed to how do we solve it, it's no good.
Were you surprised, Joy, that Fauci didn't? That Fauci dismissed the theory altogether?
He didn't dismiss it.
He didn't know. We don't know.
He said he didn't know.
You don't know what.
There we go. There we go. Let's cover for fake fraud Fossey, the fakester, the fraudster. Fossey lied and millions died.
Well, he was pretty dismissive for a while, and he said this did not come from that. But then he changed in July of last year. He hedged slightly by saying he was going to keep an open mind.
Yeah, because he never said he definitively didn't believe it. He said, I don't know. That's what he said the entire time. That's what everyone has said.
Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. That brings us to end this video. This one really, really got me worked up, folks. I mean, this here episode really had some things that literally pissed me off. Abso-freaking-lutely. I mean, the way these ladies were talking, love to bring, okay, the clips of these people, okay, the cackling that these guys were doing at that time. Now, all of a sudden, it's revisionist history. And now they're trying to CYA, cover their asses, basically, in terms of their talking points. When at that time, they excoriated people, calling them racist, xenophobic, bigots. You know, you can't stand people from it. How dare we stop people from coming to the United States from China? All these things were being cackled by these people, not just these lovable leftist lunatic ladies on the rear view, but by people on the left. Even there were some people, okay, progressives, the moderates, the networks, folks. What Twitter, Google, Facebook. You got censored, you got deplatformed. They were working in collusion with the government to shut speech down. They didn't want any dissenting opinion. You couldn't even think about it. You had scientists, Dr. Robert Malone and some other doctors out there. Just great minds, people that worked on mRNA vaccines and everything. And they had a different thought process. They had a different opinion. They were basically just trying to get their views out there. And they were being crushed. They were being silenced by the media in collusion with the government. Did these guys ever have Dr. Malone on to explain it? No, of course they didn't. Who'd they have? The fraud fakester Fossey. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, and when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.